Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on some crucial environmental topics.
Hmm.
Stuff that's, essential for anyone trying to get a solid handle on India's environmental scene.
Especially if you're prepping for exams like the UPSC Prelims for 2025. These areas are key.
Exactly. We've gone through government reports, international agreements, recent news, basically trying to pull out the core information for you.
Yeah, the idea is to give you a clear, concise overview. Think of it as a targeted revision, hitting the main points you really need.
Right. So let's dive straight in. First up, the National Clean Air Program, NCAP.
Okay. Launched by the MoEFCC Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change.
Yep, back in 2019. And the initial idea was to tackle particulate matter.
Specifically PM10 and PM2.5, those finer particles.
They were aiming for a 20 to 30% reduction by 2024.
Compared to 2017 levels, that was the baseline.
But things have evolved a bit since then.
They have. The
Yeah.
deadline's been pushed to 2026 now.
And the target's changed too, hasn't it?
It has. It's now a more ambitious 40% reduction, but specifically focused on PM10 levels.
Okay, a 40% cut in PM10 by 2026. That's a significant update.
It really shows an increased focus, I think, on tackling urban air pollution, which is, well, a huge challenge.
Absolutely. And it's not just a small-scale thing. It covers 131 cities.
Non-attainment cities, right?
The ones where air quality consistently doesn't meet the national standards.
Yeah. So the focus is on city-specific action plans for those places.
Plus things like capacity building, public awareness,
Yeah.
getting everyone involved.
Makes sense. You need a multi-pronged approach.
Definitely. So to help lock in these details, let's try a quick practice question, like you might see in the exam.
Good idea. It tests if you've picked up on the launch year, the targets, the changes.
Okay, here's the question. Which of the following statements regarding the National Clean Air Program, NCAP, are correct? 1. It was launched in 2019 to reduce particulate matter concentrations. 2. The initial target was a 20–30% reduction in PM10 levels by 2024. 3. The program has been extended to 2026 with a revised target of a 40% reduction in PM10 levels.
Okay, take a moment. Think about Statement 1, launch year, purpose. Statement 2, initial target specifics. Statement 3, the extension and revised goal.
Right. What do you think?
Well, based on what we just covered, the correct answer is D. All three statements, 1, 2, and 3 are correct.
Yep. Launched 2019 to cut PM. Initial goal was 20–30% for PM10 by 2024. And it has been extended to 2026 with that 40% PM10 reduction target.
Exactly. So hopefully that clarifies the key points of NCAP.
Understanding those core facts, timeline, targets, the shift is pretty vital.
Okay, moving on. Next topic. The Green Credit Program, or GCP.
Right. This one's newer. Launched October 2023.
Also by MoEFCC, and it's under the Life Initiative Lifestyle for Environment. And the interesting thing here is the mechanism. It's market-based.
Yeah, it aims to incentivize voluntary environmental actions.
So moving beyond just regulation and towards encouraging positive actions through market signals, it's quite a shift.
Totally. And what kind of actions are we talking about?
Things like afforestation, water conservation efforts, better waste management, practical, positive steps.
And if individuals or organizations do these things, they can earn green credits.
Which potentially could be tradable. That's the market aspect.
The goal is basically to get more people and groups involved in conservation, right? By offering an incentive.
Precisely. Broadening the base of participation.
Okay, let's test this with another question.
Sounds good. This one focuses on the primary aim of the GCP.
The Green Credit Program, GCP, launched by the Government of India, primarily aims to A. Provide financial subsidies for renewable energy projects. B. Issue tradable credits for voluntary environmental actions. C. Mandate corporate investment in green technologies. D. Replace the existing carbon trading mechanisms.
Okay, focus on that core idea. Market-based, voluntary actions, rewards. Which option fits best?
Thinking. A. Subsidies.
Yeah.
C. Mandates. D. Replacing carbon trading. Or B.
It has to be B.
Correct. The answer is B. Issue tradable credits for voluntary environmental actions. That's the heart of the GCP.
It's not primarily about subsidies or mandates, and while it's market-like, it's not replacing carbon trading. It's about rewarding those voluntary efforts.
Exactly. Key takeaway. Voluntary action incentivized by tradable green credits.
Got it.
All right, let's switch gears now to the global stage, Top P28.
Ah, yes, the big climate conference in Dubai. end of November to mid-December 2023.
And this one was particularly significant, wasn't it?
It really was, because it marks the end of the first global stocktake under the Paris Agreement.
Right, the big assessment of where the world stands on climate goals.
Exactly. How much progress have we made? What more needs to be done? That was the focus.
And a major outcome everyone talked about was the UAE consensus.
And the big headline from that.
For the first time in a COP decision, there was explicit language about transitioning away from fossil fuels.
That was noteworthy. A real shift in the language, even if not a binding phase-out.
Yeah. And the consensus also called for tripling renewable energy capacity globally.
By 2030. So pushing renewables hard while signaling a move away from fossil fuels.
That was the main thrust. Let's try a question on this.
Okay, focusing on the key outcomes of COP28.
Which of the following was a significant outcome of COP28? A. Establishment of a global carbon tax. B. Legally binding commitments to phase out all fossil fuels by 2025. C. Adoption of the UAE consensus emphasizing a transition away from fossil fuels. D. Introduction of a new Kyoto Protocol.
Consider what we just discussed. Global carbon tax, binding phase-out by 2025, new Kyoto, or that UAE
It
consensus.
seems pretty clear based on our chat.
It should be.
The answer is C. Adoption of the UAE consensus emphasizing a transition away from fossil fuels.
Exactly. No global carbon tax was set up, the commitments weren't legally binding for a 2025 phase-out, and there wasn't a new Kyoto. The UAE consensus and its language on fossil fuels was the standout development.
Right. That phrase, transitioning away, is the key thing to remember from COP28.
Definitely signals a shift in the global climate conversation.
Yeah. Let's bring it back home now. Focus on India again. Ramsar sites.
Wetlands of international importance. There's been movement there.
Significant movement. India added several new sites in 2024.
Bringing the total up to
85.
Yeah.
85 Ramsar sites as of August 2024.
Wow, 85. That's quite a number. And it really reflects India's growing commitment to wetland conservation, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Protecting these vital ecosystems and their biodiversity is clearly a priority.
Essential for water security, climate regulation, so many things.
So a quick check on that number. This should be straightforward.
A direct recall question.
As of August 2024, how many Ramsar sites are there in India? A, 75B, 80C, 85D, 90.
We just said it.
Yep. The answer is C, 85.
85 sites. Good number to keep in mind. Shows the scale of India's conservation efforts for wetlands.
Indeed. Okay, final topic for this deep dive. The blue economy.
Right. This concept is gaining a lot of traction globally and in India.
So what is it, basically?
It's about using ocean resources sustainably.
Sustainable use for economic growth, jobs, livelihoods.
While, and this is crucial, preserving the health of the ocean ecosystem itself, it's that balance.
Makes sense. And in India's context, what sorts of sectors does this cover?
Well, the traditional ones like fisheries, maritime transport, shipping,
Okay.
but also things like marine tourism and increasingly offshore renewable energy, like offshore wind farms.
Right. And the government has a plan for this, doesn't it?
Yes, the Maritime India Vision 2030 outlines the strategy for developing the blue economy.
Harnessing ocean potential, but sustainably. That's the core idea.
Exactly.
Okay, final question then. This one tests what doesn't fit under the blue economy umbrella.
All right. Testing the boundaries of the concept.
Which of the following sectors is not typically associated with the blue economy? A. Fisheries. B. Maritime transport. C. Offshore wind energy. D. Coal mining.
Okay, think about the common thread. Which one of these is fundamentally different, not ocean-based?
Fisheries. Ocean. Maritime transport. Ocean. Offshore wind. Ocean. Coal mining.
Land-based.
Exactly. The answer is D. Coal mining.
Right. Coal mining is a terrestrial, land-based activity. It doesn't fall under the blue economy, which is all about the sustainable use of ocean resources.
Perfect. Up. The National Green Hydrogen Mission, the NGHM, launched back in January 2023. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy.
Right. And this isn't just, about a new fuel type. It's bigger. It's about positioning India as a global hub for producing and exporting green hydrogen.
A global hub. So what's the actual target they've set?
It's pretty ambitious. They're aiming for 5 million metric tons per annum MMTTA by 2030.
5 million tons. Wow. That sounds like it would need massive investment.
Oh, absolutely. The mission anticipates needing over, I think, 8 lakh crore in investment.
Huge numbers.
Yeah. And the potential upside, beyond the energy aspect, is job creation. They estimate around 6 lakh jobs by 2030. So it's environment, but also economy.
Right, environment and economy linked. And the core environmental goal is decarbonization. Which areas are they targeting?
Primarily the big industrial sectors. So think fertilizers, petroleum refining, steel production, and also transportation. These are, traditionally very carbon intensive.
So hitting the hard-to-abate sectors.
Exactly. Introducing green hydrogen as a cleaner alternative there.
Okay, so how are they planning to, well, actually make this happen? 5 million tons is a lot.
Well, there are a few key parts. One is the SITE program, Strategic Interventions for Green Hydrogen Transition.
SITE, what does that do?
It basically provides financial incentives. Things like boosting domestic manufacturing of electrolyzers, which you need to make the hydrogen, and supporting the actual production of green hydrogen itself.
Okay, incentives.
And alongside that, there are pilot projects planned to test out different applications, see what works best in different areas.
Got it. Okay, let's try a question on this then, like something you might see in the prelims.
Sure.
Which of the following statements regarding the National Green Hydrogen Mission, in GHM, is correct? Statement 1. It aims to produce 5 MMTPA of green hydrogen by 2030. Statement 2. The mission includes the Strategic Interventions for Green Hydrogen Transition SITE program.
Okay.
Statement 3. It focuses solely on the transport sector for decarbonization. Now your options are A, 1 and 2 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, or D, 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, thinking about what we just discussed. Statement 1, the 5 MMTPA target, that's correct.
Right.
Statement 2, the SITE program, yes, that's definitely part of it. Statement 3 focuses solely on transport. No, we said fertilizers, refining, steel as well. So statement 3 is incorrect.
Meaning the answer is?
The answer has to be A, 1 and 2 only.
Perfect, exactly. The scope is broader than just transport.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears. Lithium-ion battery recycling. This feels incredibly timely with EVs and everything.
Oh, definitely. The numbers are quite striking. India's demand for Li-ion batteries is projected to hit something like 127 gigawatt hours by 2030.
127 gigawatt hours. That's a lot of batteries.
It is. And it forces the question, what happens when they reach the end of their life? So a strong recycling policy isn't just nice to have, it's becoming essential.
Right, managing the whole life cycle. So what's driving the government's push for this policy? What are the main reasons?
2 big ones, really. First, it's about resource security, reducing how much we rely on imports for critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, the stuff in the batteries.
Makes sense. Less import dependence.
And second, the environmental angle. Improper disposal is a real hazard. These batteries contain valuable materials, yes, but also stuff that can pollute if not handled correctly. Recycling tackles both.
Resource security and environmental protection. Are companies already doing this in India?
Yes, there are players in the field. Companies like Terra Recycling, Loam Cleantech, Gravita India, they're active in this space.
Pioneers?
Kind of, but there are challenges. We don't really have a standardized nationwide system for collecting old batteries yet. That's a hurdle.
The collection logistics.
Yes. And also the advanced recycling tech needed to get really high recovery rates efficiently. That's still developing, still scaling up.
So potential there, but challenges too. Okay, let's do another quick check. MCQ time. Why is lithium-ion battery recycling gaining importance in India? A, to increase dependence on imported raw materials.
Definitely not A.
B, to reduce environmental pollution and import dependence. C, because lithium-ion batteries are no longer used in electric vehicles.
Also incorrect.
Or D, to promote the use of lead-acid batteries.
Okay, based on our chat, the clear answer is B.
B, to reduce environmental pollution and import dependence.
Exactly. Recycling recovers materials, cuts pollution risks, and lessens that reliance on imports. A, C, and D are just plain wrong.
Right. Okay, good. Let's move to something maybe more familiar but still vital. Project Tiger, launched way back 1973.
Absolutely. A real cornerstone of Indian conservation. The goal then and now is conserving tigers and their habitats.
And it's seen success, right? How many reserves are there now?
As of 2022 data, India has 54 tiger reserves, which is, a significant network across the country, shows the long-term commitment.
54. Impressive. Any recent developments or initiatives under Project Tiger we should know about?
Well, the work is continuous. There are ongoing efforts like rewilding orphaned cubs. That's a complex but important task for boosting wild populations.
Rewilding cubs must be challenging.
Very. And another big focus is managing human-tiger conflict. As tiger numbers recover, which is good news, interactions with humans can increase, so that needs careful management.
A consequence of success, in a way. And who's in charge of running Project Tiger overall?
That's the National Tiger Conservation Authority, the NTCA. They're the main body responsible for overseeing implementation, monitoring, setting direction across all the reserves.
NTCA. Got it.
Yeah.
Let's test this. Which statement about Project Tiger is correct? 1, it was launched in 1973 to conserve tigers.
Yep, that's correct.
2, the National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, oversees its implementations.
Also correct.
3, as of 2022, India has 54 tiger reserves under Project Tiger.
Yes, that figure is correct too.
So if 1, 2, and 3 are all correct,
Then the answer must be D. All 3 statements are accurate.
D it is. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the IUCN Red List categories and criteria. This is fundamental for species conservation globally.
Absolutely fundamental. The IUCN Red List is basically the global standard for assessing extinction risk. It gives us a common language, a scientific framework to understand how threatened species are.
Right, so what are the main categories we need to be aware of for the exam?
There's a spectrum. At one end, you have extinct, EX, gone completely, then extinct in the wild, EW. Then the ones indicating high risk. Critically endangered, CR, extremely high risk.
CR, okay.
Then endangered, EN, very high risk, and vulnerable, VU, high risk.
CR, EN, VU. Those are the big threatened categories.
Pretty much. After that, you get near threatened, NT, least concern, LC, doing okay relatively speaking, data deficient, DD, we just don't know enough, and not evaluated, and E hasn't been assessed yet.
That's quite a detailed system. What kind of things do they look at to decide the category? Population size.
Yeah, things like population size, definitely. Also, the rate of population decline, the size of its geographic range, fragmentation, specific threats. It's a rigorous data-driven assessment.
Okay, let's try to spot something that doesn't belong. Which of these is not an official IUCN Red List category? A, critically endangered, B, extinct in the wild, C, moderately threatened, D, data deficient.
We mentioned CR, EW, and DD. Moderately threatened? That doesn't sound like one of the official terms we list.
Yes,
So the answer is C. Moderately threatened is not an official IUCN category.
correct. Okay, switching tracks again. Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA notifications. Crucial for project clearances. What's the basic idea of an EIA?
At its heart, an EIA is a process. It's about evaluating the potential environmental effects before a project goes ahead. You identify impacts, predict how bad they might be, and ideally figure out how to lessen the negative ones.
A preventative tool, essentially.
Yes, exactly.
And in India, the main regulation is the EIA Notification 2006.
That's the key one, yes. It lays out the whole procedure, which projects need clearance, what steps are involved, public consultation requirements, all of that.
Now, I remember reading about an important amendment fairly recently, March 2025. What changed?
Yes, that was significant. Basically, it removed exemptions that used to exist for certain types of linear projects. Think roads, pipeline.
So roads and pipelines used to be exempt.
Some categories or aspects were, yes. But this amendment brought them fully into the EIA process. Now, they require a proper environmental impact assessment, just like other major projects.
That sounds like a major tightening of the rules for infrastructure.
It is. The goal is to ensure these large, often environmentally disruptive linear projects get proper scrutiny right from the start.
Okay, let's check that understanding. What was the significant change in the March 2025 EIA notification amendment? A, exemption of all projects from EIA.
Definitely not A.
B, introduction of EIA for linear projects like roads and pipelines. C, removal of EIA requirement for mining projects.
No.
D, mandatory EIA for all agricultural activities.
Yeah, that's not it either. It has to be B.
B it is, bringing those linear projects under the EIA umbrella. Got it. Now let's talk about India's net zero pledge for 2070, a huge commitment on the world stage.
Absolutely massive. Announced by the PM at COP26 in Glasgow, committing India to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2070. It's a long-term target, but a very significant signal.
2070. Are there sort of interim steps or related commitments that go along with that main pledge?
Yes, there are. It's part of the Panchamarit, the 5 commitments made at COP26. These include things like boosting non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatt by 2030.
500 giga, okay.
Getting 50% of energy from renewables by 2030, reducing projected emissions by 1 billion tons by 2030, cutting the economy's carbon intensity by over 45% by 2030, and then the 2070 net zero goal itself.
So it's a package deal, really,
No.
with near-term actions leading to the long-term goal.
Exactly, a pathway.
Okay, quick recall question. At which COP did India announce this net zero 2070 target? A, copy 21, B, copy 26, C, copy 28, D, cop 30.
That was definitely copy 26 in Glasgow.
B, copy
Yeah.
26, correct. All right, one last major topic for this deep dive. The Western Ghats Biodiversity Hotspot.
Ah, the Western Ghats. Truly an ecological jewel, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and also classed as one of the world's 8 hottest hotspots for biodiversity.
Hottest hotspots. What makes it so special? Why is it such a hotspot?
It's down to incredible species richness and, crucially, endemism.
Endemism,
Meaning species found there and absolutely nowhere else on Earth. The Western Ghats have, I think, over 7,400 documented species of plants and animals, and a very high percentage of those are endemic.
Wow. So loads of species and many unique ones.
Precisely. It's the combination of topography, the high rainfall, its whole evolutionary history that's led to this explosion of life.
And beyond just the species count, what other ecological roles do the Ghats play?
They're incredibly important for the regional climate. They heavily influence the Indian monsoon patterns, acting as a barrier in channeling rainfall.
Ah, the monsoon connection.
Yeah. Plus, they are the source, the watershed for numerous major rivers in peninsular India. So they're vital for water security and just the overall ecological health of the region.
Clearly a critical area. Okay, final question then. Why is the Western Ghats considered a biodiversity hotspot? A, due to its desert ecosystem.
No,
B, because it has low species diversity.
definitely not.
C, owing to its high species richness and endemism.
That sounds right.
D, because it is sparsely populated.
While population density might be relevant to threats, it's not why it's a hotspot. The reason is C.
C, high species richness and endemism. Exactly.
Correct. The sheer variety and uniqueness of life there.
And that brings us to the end of our rapid review. We've covered quite a bit. The green hydrogen mission, Li-ion battery recycling, Project Tiger updates, IUCN categories, the EIA changes, the net zero pledge, and the Western Ghats.
Yeah, a good sweep of key environmental topics. Understanding these and how they sort of connect is really crucial as you prep for the prelims. They touch on policy, conservation, climate action, really central themes.
Absolutely. So as you continue your revision, here's something maybe to think about, a question that builds on what we discussed. Considering India's ambitious green hydrogen goals and the rocketing demand for batteries, how truly critical will efficient and, importantly, sustainable sourcing of raw materials become in the long run? You know, avoiding new problems while solving old ones.
That's a great point. The supply chain sustainability for these green technologies is a huge emerging issue, something definitely worth reflecting on.
Keep pondering those connections.